Hi guys, welcome to Shawn Watson Davis TV. I'm here with a group of relatives and friends, and we are enjoying a little time with 101 Conversational Questions by Shawn Watson Davis. We have Mike here, and he's going to read from Book 2, second edition. And Mike, what number is the question you're going to be reading?
I have question number 22.
Okay, question number 22 from second edition. Go ahead and read it.
Question number 22 is, why do you think people so often fail at marriage?
Okay, why do you think people so often fail at marriage?
Well, I think one of the big reasons is compromise and not always having to stay or be right. I think that if you disagree with something or have an argument about something, that you need to pick your battles. Don't always try to win every argument or try to get everything your way. And I think it's hard for some people to give because they always want to win.
Exactly. So, in other words, people have a hard time with the concept of team. They still approach the scenario from an individual win versus a team win.
Or what's best for the marriage, or what's best for the situation.
And I'm terming that as a team. So the marriage would be what's best for the team. So in terms of mate selection, what do you think people should be looking for in terms of the qualities for a successful marriage? What do you think the qualities are that a person needs to possess in order to be a good marital partner?
I guess a lot of it is really what you feel you need to have a successful relationship. Some people say money. I'll say that's not the most important thing, because some people have it, some people don't, and both couples are still happy. I think that you just have to find common goals, and some goals or some activities that you may not have thought that you like, that your partner likes, and do those activities. I think a lot of it, really, it's just to me, it's a lot of give and take.
Gotcha. Ken, what about you? What do you think, why do you think that people so often fail at marriage?
They may not have similar interests, and interests may take you to doing things a lot of the times where your spouse can't do it, and so that you're not around each other that much. And I think that's a big problem. You got to have hobbies or things you like to do together.
Right. And in terms of dating, because in order for people to be willing to decide to get married, there has to have been some common ground where you were enjoying one another's company and you were experiencing admiration for each other in order to decide that you wanted to get married. So why do you think that people succeed at love to the point of wanting to marry one another, but then once they are married, then people have a hard time succeeding because we have an over 50% marriage failure rate? So why do you think that the dating can go just fine to the point where people are, I'm crazy about you enough where I want to marry you, and then once they're in the marriage, they have a hard time sticking with the commitment?
I think a lot of times when you're dating, you try to present yourself as perfect. You know, everything you want to do, you open doors, you close doors, you hold the arm, you do everything in the dating process. But then after you got married, it's almost like, I got the prize now, so I don't have to do this anymore. You know, she just have to deal with me as I am. And I think that's a problem too.
Got it. So do you think marriages then, or the dating process, is somewhat like a sport? You know, when we're in it to win it, as you say,
Yeah.
we're doing this and that to win the goal. And then once the goal is won, there's not that motivation.
Yeah, it's always about the chase, you know, and sometimes the person you're going after might be a little bit more than you really can handle, but it's that I'm gonna get her. You know, I want her. I'm gonna get her, whatever it takes. And so it's all about the chase.
Makes sense. I see that. I get that. Anything to add to that, Mike?
I think that there's, you know, when you meet someone, you typically, marriage isn't the first thing on your mind. That's something that may come or comes as you guys bond, as you guys have the same interests, and as I like to say, when relatives bring it up when you come over for dinner. Those types of things. So that's what I feel. And then, and like I said, and when as time comes along, typically one of or the other will mention it or jokingly say something, but it's always in the back of your mind after you've say those four letter word.
Gotcha. And so, Ken, how do you think, if you were talking to your daughter and you were explaining to her what to look for to predict, let's say, what you're speaking of, whether or not you are really dating the true person, or are you dating someone who is just got you as a target, but perhaps doesn't have the background to show that they stick with what they start, that they finish what they start? I mean, like, how do you assess whether or not someone can stick to the commitment of marriage, in your opinion?
That's one that's hard to predict. You know, and I kind of look at their parents. You know, if he's coming from a two-parent home, or whether there was a lot of abuse or whatever, that's all he saw. You know, chances are at some point that may kick in with him too. But I think a lot, their upbringing means a lot, you know, and just the way they treat them, you know, just, you can see in the guy's eye if he's really into you or not, you know, but I think the upbringing has a lot to do with it.
So, in terms of mentorship of boys, let's say, you all are mentors. What value do you think, Mike, these questions, having these types of books that would guide you into discussions with your mentee that you ordinarily wouldn't talk to a mentee about? What do you think the value is of guided discussions through books such as 101 Conversational Questions?
Well, I think that, you know, the questions get you thinking about what it takes, or some of the characteristics of having a successful marriage or a successful relationship, or for that matter, any type of relationship. You know, it starts a discussion of, okay, well, I'm this way, I don't like this. But then once you start reading some of the questions and having the discussion, then you start maybe feeling that, okay, now I see why this is important, even though I didn't believe in it. So it could change your outlook on how you value or how you view people.
Absolutely. And Ken, what about you? Do you think that discussions such as these would be valuable in a mentorship type relationship?
Oh, definitely, because this generation is not a communication generation. They want to get on their phones. They could care less about what's going on around them. It's what's on that phone at that particular time. So, the days of families sitting at the table on Sundays eating dinner together, you don't see that anymore. Where it used to, in our generation, it was a given. When dinner was ready, you go right to the table. You ate as a family. You talked as a family. You communicated as a family. And you don't have that because the social media has a lot to do with that. And and it goes back to upbringing again. There's got to be times you can just tell them, put the phone down. We need to talk. How was your day? How's it been in school? How's your job? How you like your boss? What's going on with you? Things like that. Those things has been lacking the last generation, really.
Absolutely. I also think that books like these help kids to develop like the ping ponging of conversations. So, the question is a starter, right? You read the question, it's a starter. And then before you know it, you've got follow-up questions going back and forth, which then teaches young people how to participate in making the conversation, but not just giving one word answers with just the adult trying to pry information from them, but rather it gets them involved with participating. Would you agree with that, Mike?
Yeah, it basically what it does is it starts dialogue. I mean, it teaches you how to respond to questions, or and if they're giving 1 or 2 word answers, like most kids will say, well, how, they ask them, how was your day? They'll say, fine. Okay, well, what is fine? I mean, can you be a little more descriptive? Can you tell me a little bit more about what's going on? It just, to me, it just stops a lot of the 1, 2 word sentences.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much for participating, you guys. Again, Mike, if you would hold your book up, we've got the series titled 101 Conversational Questions. It's a 3-book series so that at least 3 people can hold the books and participate in finding questions that they're interested in discussing. And Ken has book 2, and again, 101 Conversational Questions, first edition, second edition, and third edition. Diane, will you hold up book number 1? Just so that they can see book number 1. Yep. Hi, Diane is joining us here at the end. So if you would turn your book around, Diane, and just say hi. First edition. And all 3 books are available on Amazon.com. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye now.